Okay then, I had a couple of friends who asked me to do a tutorial on Photoshop graphic designs, the basics, since apparently most tutorials on YouTube are not the greatest. I mean, they're mostly just showing you how awesome they are, but I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to try to show you the tools and how to use the tools. First off, the tool you mostly use for painting or anything else in Photoshop is the brush. You can also use the dodge and burn over here, but you get what they're called. If you try to use skin tones, they'll look burnt. Used to do that, not anymore. So mostly you want the brush. And there are lots of different brushes to use. When you ask a professional, they say they just use the basic ones, but most people, like personally, I thought when they said basic was the round ones. And I discovered something that works better, which they were probably talking about. Go to that, you just saw, reset brushes. Yes. Never mind. Let's try this again. Reset brushes. Okay. No, do not want to save changes. And you have the very basic brushes in Photoshop. Now, for me, you really want the circle ones unless you're just doing a rough sketch. But mostly you want these ones down here, because they're shaped more like a actual brush and they generally have texture. Forgive my computer, it is very slow. Dun 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 dun. I hate Cam Studio. Sorry, just really slows down. Okay, and there's that. Those are the most brushes you can use. Basically any of those brushes there for painting. You can also use the circle ones, but you get a really blocky look to your painting or drawing, whatever you're doing. Okay, also. Okay, when you're drawing or painting, whatever you want to do with this, lay down a base coat, and then if you want to add other colors, the opacity down around 60 for high definition colors, if you will. And the flow, I'm not really correct if I'm wrong about this, leave a comment or whatever. The flow is basically like showing how much, like how many brush pixels, I can't explain it. Okay, let's suppose we have a circle brush, this one usually works the best. Then we have the flow down to 21. Notice that each circle is apart. It's basically all the flow does. The opacity shows how thick it comes up. This is mainly good if you use a texture brush and you want the texture to be more apparent. Turn the flow down. But mostly I just work for opacity. That's just me though. Do whatever you want. Okay, and there goes that. Now if you want to blend colors, you can do it one of two ways. There's probably more, but they're the two ways I do it. You can take a soft brush and have a slightly variation of the color you're using. So if I want to blend this stuff right here, I might take a darker gray of this color. Soft brush, opacity down to, say, 23, somewhere around there. And slowly overlap on here. So basically it blends in more with the rest. And that's one way. Another way is the handy dandy smudge tool. A lot of times that works better. The only problem is though, you usually have a little kind of, how do you say it, swirly good thing going on here. But that can really work good, like if you want to draw a nose. That works if you want to like make a shape go in one direction. But if you just want to lay down shadows, your best bet is doing the first way, and that is take a soft brush and lay it down there lightly. Now selection tools, if you want to select your colors or whatnot. There are different types of lasso. There are the regular lasso, polygonal lasso, and magnetic. Basic lasso is you draw, it's freestyle. That is good if you have a tablet like I do, depending if it's a glitchy tablet or not. And the other one is polygonal. This is basically laying down points and connecting those points. It's very straight, very exact. Third one on here is magnetic. This basically goes according to colors, contrast, and it goes wrapped around it. See how it's wrapping around here? Now, this is like good for beginners, but I don't like it because sometimes it just jacks up, especially if there's multiple colors. It just goes to random things. And on any of these, if you make a mistake, hit backspace, and it goes to the last point and deletes it. So that always helps. Now another tool for selection, actually there's multiple, you can use these up here, basically what they're saying. This rectangle, elliptical, circles, whatnot. And there's a pin tool. This is probably the most powerful tool for selecting things. It's hardest to master, but you can have circles, shapes. This is the only tool you can really have curves into it. And when you do this, it creates a path. I'm closing the path, but it's down over here. This is work path, it doesn't have a name, so if you make another path, this one will be deleted. So if, suppose this was a grade selection, rename it, path 1, whatever. And these are the tools you can use to make that path. You can use a selection tool, so everything in here, select it. You can use it as a fill tool, so everything is filled with your foreground color right here. Or you can use it as a stroke tool, so where that path is, you'll have a stroke, whatever brush or tool you use last, that will be what strokes it. And that's about it for that. And again, I really hate Cam Studio. It slows down my computer so much. Okay, let me try to put this in some actual practical work, or how I paint, whatever. Okay. This one's kind of a bad example of the use of layers, because for the actual painting I only used 2 layers, one for the color and one for the painting. But for the sketching, first I laid down some red, just so guidelines, basic shape. I used a brush tool, I used a circle, really basic to lay down. It looks kind of blocky, but it didn't have to be perfect. About 3. So I just made the basic guidelines, circles so I know where everything's at. Then I placed some black lines, so okay. So turn off the red lines, and you got that. And when I did this, I filled it in with a light gray. Well, after I use a pen tool to select over it all. And that is, still have that path right here. So I filled that in. Okay, I made a new layer for it first, but, and then basically I go handy dandy brush, turn it to a darker gray, and then I just started going crazy with it. Turn the opacity down to 60, or up to 60, and good, nice. Use this brush right here, it adds texture, and I just played around with it until I got it right. I had my guidelines before, but okay, Control Z's, there we go. And then after I did that, I came up with this right here. Okay. If you notice, I kind of got lazy in this part here, the torso. I should have smudged it more, so I'll probably do that right now just to show you. Okay, I have the smudge tools, strength at 60%, just so you know. Okay. That basically just blends the colors in together, so you don't have to worry about it looking just hard lines or harsh lines. Usually you can get away with harsh lines, but if you want to do realism, you don't want those lines, unless it's a machine or a mechanical object. the hair I didn't put too much emphasis on, but there's a basic black and white. For that, I lay down some color right there. This is the original, what it looked like. I used sort of a pinkish red, and I added some tan lines on the high spots where the blood vessels weren't so apparent. And I set this baby down to color. Okay, now color usually doesn't work all the time because, well, it depends on the lighting of the situation. So you can just go through here, play with it, say overlay, eeks, they look very dark haired, or just whatever. Whatever works for you, whatever works for your particular painting. But usually though you should make more layers in case you make a mistake. Like this one over here. I use a layer for just about everything on here. I was lazy, didn't want to draw the entire thing, so I used kind of a foreshadowing thing so I could see where everything was. And as you can see, I have a layer for the bandana, layer for the hair, layer for the color on the shirt, and layer for the actual shirt, and layer for the skin tones. These are examples of layers. So basically, if I made a mistake on the bandana, I could just come up here, click the bandana, mess the bandana, and only affect the bandana. Or I could change the adjustments, levels. So I want the bandana darker. I could do that. Lighter without affecting the entire thing. And this is usually the smartest way to go. So in case you make a mistake, you can fix it. And for now, I think that's about it for this tutorial. If you want me to show anything else or you have questions, just feel free to ask me. Or if you have any suggestions for a next tutorial, again, feel free. Also, if you saw anything wrong with this, tell me so I can fix it myself. Thanks a lot for watching this. Dun 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 dun.